Well, greetings, people of the internet. Unky Joe here. Unky Joe's Playhouse tonight. Tank Talk, episode 5. Tanks for the memories. Yes, these fish give me great memories. What I want to do tonight is just go over all my tanks, what's in them, how the fish are doing, how the plants are doing, and how I made the tanks. So, get your favorite adult beverage, kick it back and relax. And hopefully this video will have a calming effect on all of you at the end of a busy day, right? All right, let's get it rolling right now. So we'll start with my leaker tank up here. This is the 10-gallon tank that decided it was brand new. Well, 3 or 4 months old. And I marked it with blue tape in the corner here where the leak is. And I just keep the water level down to here. Actually, the other day I filled it up with water. This is going to be like a hospital tank, a plant storage tank, that kind of thing. Right now it's just kind of storing my excess frog bit. Got a filter in there. This gravel was very dirty, so it put a lot of stuff into the water column. I gotta get in there and clean it out. But anyway, there it sits. This tank down here is a 20-gallon 20-gallon long breeder tank, they also call it. It is now planted, and it's got lots of little guppies in it, and baby guppies, and some pretty ones with some pretty tails, and the camera is actually focusing pretty well. This is my Pixel 6 I'm using to film this with, and I just thought I'd get some shots of there's the sand substrate and the kitty litter, or the safeties, or whatever you want to call it, and the fish just enjoying their best life. I've got I've decided I'm going to start filming now with my back to my cell phone cameras, because it just works so well. I've got another phone coming soon. This is a grow out tank though, and so I'm recording this on my Pixel 6. And I have a gimbal coming for these, for my mobile phone. Actually, for my handheld computer, I should say. Anyway, let's go to the next tank. This is the 55-gallon tank, and you can just see that there is a proliferation of life in this aquarium. It has just pretty much been taken over by Jungle Val, just the way I like it. It's got lots of happy little fishes. We got guppies, we got Dalmatian mollies, we got black and yellow mollies. I don't even know what those are called. It just, we got algae growing on the glass. We got little baby fish. We got my pleco in here. I've got a mystery snail in here. I've got some shrimp. I've even got some panda coreodoras. I had 2 in here. They're very bashful. They don't like to come out very often. And then if you look way back there, there's just an abundance of life. I don't do a thing to this aquarium. I think I've said that before. This is like my one show tank I have in the house. And there's a shrimp. And I have frog bit in the top, and you can see, look at the little babies. This thing is a baby factory, and you can see when you give this kind of coverage in the aquarium, the fish they thrive. It's, I do like to keep water moving in my tanks. I don't think sponge filters are enough, not for me. So I like hang-on back filters, and I also like to have water movement and live living plants, because it just makes your life so much easier. The plants take up the fish waste, the fish feed the plants then feed the fish, provide oxygen, they oxygenate the water, they consume the CO2, they consume nitrates in the water and all kinds of stuff, and they just make it a lot easier to maintain a tank. I haven't changed the water in this tank in in years. The last time I changed the water was when I reset the tank last year, and this tank just continues to thrive. Now, occasionally I'll have some fish die off in here just from old age. I've got some old fish in here. It's a multi-generational tank, but you can see it just, the life both on the top of the tank and under the water is just, once you get a tank going and it's healthy, they're hard to stop. I do have a hang-on back filter. It's a big old huge penguin filter. And as you can see, it's full of Amazon frogbit and among other things. But it does the job. And I basically use these as biological filtration. I have some biological media up here, and then I have a sponge in here to keep the water polished. And then I grow ivy out of my. I have 2 lights on this tank because one of the lights I have is very old. This one here is kind of old, not as bright as it used to be. And if you look down in here, you can just see a ton of fish in there. And they're not afraid. They come right up to the surface when it's time to eat. I've got some lucky bamboo here. There you go. Alright, let's go to the tanks in the other room. This is a beautiful tank. And again, this is all Amazon swords and jungle val, Velocinarius americana, I think it's called. So this is my wall of 10-gallon tanks, and it's just a couple of, and the water's a little low on them right now. Let's get intimate with these tanks. So, yeah, the water level's a little low. I usually fill them up on the weekends, but this weekend I just didn't do it. This is a grow out tank for my guppies. The problem is you get one guppy, they're like rabbits. You're going to have 100 guppies. And as you can see, this tank is also planted as well. It has live plants in it. I buy the plants as I can afford them and then plant them. The jungle val that you see in here has come from that big tank we were just looking at, my big 55-gallon. And that's, I just let this stuff grow, and the fish, they love this tank. I got some snails in here. I got some little baby fish. I got some fry. I got some mamas. I got some daddies. I got some algae on the glass, evidently, because that's what it keeps focusing on. And this is just on this wire rack shelving. And it handles these 10-gallon tanks, which they only weigh like 100 pounds full of water, 110. So this rack does fine. Although if you're going to do a 20-gallon tank on here, I would recommend you get a piece of plywood, cut the entire length of this just to give it so it distributes the weight. But don't be afraid of using these wire racks. They're fine for these 10 and 20-gallon tanks. As you can see, that one in there is on that 20-gallon is on a rack, and you can see, just so we're clear on how this works, I do have a big old, well, not big old, but it's probably a 1/4 inch thick piece of plywood, and you can see how that just kind of evenly distributes the weight, whereas up here on the 10-gallon tank, it gets a little wonky, right? It gets a little wavy on that plastic. I should put a board on there. I'm going to, and then I'll probably end up putting another 20-gallon tank down there. But I digest. So this is my guppy tank, a grow out tank, and again, it's nothing special. A little bit of safety zorb in the bottom as a nutrient base. The idea is that you can either charge that with root tabs, or you can charge it with the Father Fish supplement, or you can charge it by putting pond compost on it, organic compost, and then cap it with, in this case I've capped it with gravel. I like the look of gravel. And you see the plants, they do okay. I mean, it's nothing special, but I don't have CO2 in any of these tanks or anything. And I just have these cheap, LED light strips that I got. I think these are the, I don't even know what brand they are. Down here is another guppy tank. Again, it's another planted tank. All my tanks are planted, with the exception of the goldfish tank. And on this one I have under gravel filters. I had under gravel filters when I was a kid. I've been playing around with them with this anoxic filtration. I don't think they're any better or worse than a hang on back, and actually I just prefer these hang on back filters. Now, this filter everybody raves about. I'll have to put the link to it in the bottom, but this is one of those. Everybody says it's a good filter. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It's cheaply made. It's hard to adjust. I mean, to adjust the water flow, it's really janky the way it is. I can't keep the lid on because it doesn't fit anymore. It works right now. That's the only reason it's running is because I'm too poor to buy another filter to replace it. I'll show you the filter I prefer here in a minute for a hang-on back or a canister filter. And you can have sponge filters in here too. I have a sponge filter in here too. You can do both, but I just like the effect that I think my fish are happier with moving water. But this is my other guppy tank down here. There's some plecos in here, and there's some lovely, fish if it would focus. Problem is it's not gonna focus very well. Yeah, I'll figure that out one of these days. But you see, we got some pretty fish in here. And again, live plants, that's the way to go. I go ahead and I feed these about once a week. I put some, I'll show you the API plant food, put it in there. All right, let's move over to this tank here. This is another 10-gallon tank. This is where the leaking 10-gallon tank used to be. And I bought a new tank and put this one in its place, and this was where I stored some of my plants. It's got a sponge filter in the back and a heater, and then this is a actual in aquarium power filter with the the little waterfall and all that. And this is where I've taken some of my mollies from my big tank and moved them over. Look how big these things are getting in such a short amount of time. I got a Dalmatian colored one here, and then I've got the black and yellow ones, and they're growing up quick. There's some babies in here as well. I know there were, unless they've all gotten. There's a little baby right there. Hang on, let me see if I can get him again. He's kind of shy. There he is, right there. There's a little baby. And the others have grown up quite big, quite quickly, and they're hungry little devils. They think I'm going to feed them. Again, another planted tank. This one's got some sand on top of the safety Zorb. The safety Zorb is clay. It's baked clay, and it's really good at absorbing whatever's in the water. And so you have to charge it if you're going to use it as a substrate. In other words, you have to either put root tabs in it or amend it so it can store nutrients in it to release to the plants. And then you also need to, it's going to take some time for the nutrients to build up in the base. So in the meantime, you need to feed your plants with plant food of some sort. So that's what I do about once or every 1 or 2 weeks. And then another grow out tank down here, and this one has got some black sand in it. And it's got some plants in it right now. There's some Bucephalandra, and there's some, I don't know what kind of grass this is, and we've got some moss in here, and then we've got some frog bit on the top, and we even got some snails riding around up there. And this is just another guppy grow out tank. You got to have a place to put your guppies. I don't kill fish, so and the glass is kind of dirty, so pardon me, I should have cleaned it before. But yeah, this is my guppy. You can see I've got some tiny little babies in here, and I just put them in here free of predators so they can grow up and grow out, and then and there's a whole bunch of babies in the back. You can see that's why we've got this kind of moss stuff in there so they feel safe and protected, and they're living their best life here as well. And this is where I got my start on this new aquarium journey. Back in, September, October of last year. This was my first foray into a planted tank, and that is actually potting soil. Well, it's organic potting soil on the bottom. Hello, Mr. Shrimpy. and then basically a layer of pool sand on top of that, and then you just plant the hell out of it and fill it with fish. This was my first foray into a planted tank, and I keep it trimmed up, and I take cuttings off of these plants and move them into other aquariums. And is again, you can see I've got my Marineland Whisper, well, not a Whisper, it's Marineland, you know, with the little bio wheel on it thingy. I just adapted it myself and put my own filters in it. That filter is going to be replaced by, I'll show you the filter it's going to be replaced by here in a minute, but that's not important. What's important is all the life down here. So we got some wood, we got, look at that big old honkin' master shrimp there. Look at that guy. This guy ain't messing around. Look at this. Look at that killer. It's huge, and I got a ton of shrimp. I just threw them in here to see if they would survive. And man, oh man, did they survive. Look at them. They're just taking over. I feed all my tanks once a day. This one or two is full of guppies. Just letting them grow out and live their best life. There's a pleco in here, and he lives under that filter. He has claimed this sponge filter as his own, and that's where he spends most of his time. Again, another healthy tank and lots of Amazon frog bit on the top, and yeah, my stand is held up pretty good. I'm quite proud of it. Let's move over to this tank here. And this tank is my, again, got another hang on back filter, and that's the new filter, hang on back filter I'm in love with. This is the Tidal 35. Just buy one of these things. If you've got a 20 or 30 gallon, even a 40 gallon tank, just buy one of these things. You will not be disappointed. They are the best hang on back filter I've ever used, bar none. They're even better than my other ones over here, the old Marinelands. They're not cheap. Well, yeah, they're not cheap. They're inexpensive compared to a lot of filters. But save yourself a lot of time. Don't buy these janky, cheap little. Well, if you can get a filter for 20 bucks and it for a 10 gallon tank, you're doing okay. But if you want a good quality filter that holds up, this has adjustable flow on it. Get the Tidal. I've got a 35 there, and then I've got a 55 up here on this tank. We'll come to it in a minute. But if you remember this tank, this is my Neon Tetra / I forget these Tetras. I think they're Brazilian Tetras. I forget. If I remember while I'm editing the video, I'll put their name of them down below. And then I've got some guppies in there, and then I've got one of these little Tetras is the only one that's left. But all of my Neon Tetras got ick in this tank. This was my ick tank that I had to raise the temperature up to about 82 degrees for a few days and to kill off the ick. And the tank made a remarkable recovery. I did a little battle with some algae, but I've now got a mystery snail in here somewhere. It's a mystery where it is. And oh, there it is right there. See if you can see it. There's the mystery snail right there. And yeah, again, under gravel filter with a hang on back. This is a planted tank. Now this is another wow, this is another planted tank. This is one that started with dirt originally, and I was not happy with the results and ended up, this was my first safety Zorb tank with pool sand over the top. And as you can see, it's been here a while, and it's started to actually produce lots and lots of nutrients it's storing down there from fish waste and urine and everything else feeding these plants. The algae is finally getting under control of this tank. I had a battle with hair algae, but it's starting to, I put some cherry red shrimp in here. I don't know if you'll be able to see any of them, but be on the lookout for them. I put them in here, and they've started dealing with some of this algae. And then the guppies like algae too. They like to eat it. Now in this tank I've got one of these, what is this? It's a paw fly. another excellent little aquarium filter. It's a paw fly, and it's this one right up here. It's the paw fly internal filter water pump. It's 400 liters per hour. It's only a 5 watt, so it's made for a 15 to a 30 gallon tank. It's got an adjustable flow, and I put the old waterfall on it because, again, I like flow in my tank. You see my fish? They seem to be swimming into the flow. They seem to be liking the flow. Some fish don't like flow. All my fish do. What I don't like is all this frog bit. It gets crazy. This is probably a week's worth of growth, so you have to stay on top of it. But as you can see, there's a cherry shrimp living its cherry shrimp life, and there's another one there. And it's full of little baby fish and adult fish and grow out fish. And this is a tank where I really don't try to do anything but feed the fish and see how it does. I haven't really gotten into breeding fish. I don't have the time or the patience right now, but I do love just sitting here looking at the fish and looking at the tanks. It's very relaxing, and it's a little bit of maintenance. It's not a lot of work to deal with these tanks or take care of them. All the lights are on a timer, so at 8 o'clock at night they turn off. They come on at 8 in the morning, and then I feed the fish every day at about 8:30. Only once a day. All they get is one meal a day, and they're fine. All right, so this is my 40-gallon breeder tank, the one that's full of mollies and some guppies. And then if you can see them in here, good luck. They are real good at hiding. There he is right there. When you're looking dead onto these fish, you can hardly see him, but watch when he turns to the side, as if on cue. Come on, my friend. Thank you. Look at that color on that fish. That is a gorgeous, gorgeous fish. And I've got 2 of them in here. Well, he is really colored up today. I've got another one in here that likes to hide. I've got a suckerfish, an albino suckerfish living at the bank. And then I've got these swordtails. They're just beautiful, beautiful fish. They're getting really big in this tank. Here's the other one. See, they like to hide. Look at the color on those gouramis. These are blue gouramis, and they're not aggressive. Not really, but I got them in a big, old, again, planted tank. We got the Safety Zorb substrate. Now this one has got what is called fluorine base. That's iron and potassium and all mixed up together, and I use that as the base, and this tank has been doing very well. It's kind of gotten out of control. I'm just letting it grow, and then I take cuttings off the plants in here. But it's doing well. It's got snails in it. It's got no shrimp in this tank. But these beautiful blue look at that fish. That is just a beautiful fish. And I apologize for my dirty tank. Next time I promise I'll clean it. Clean the glass before I take a picture. But aren't those fish beautiful? Look at them. And on this tank, I just have these. In fact, I've switched all my tanks now to these floodlights, and you can see they give this effect, a shimmering effect, and I like it, and the fish really like it. I love the shimmer, and again, it's just cheap. You get 2 of these lights for $20, and then I just mount them on a piece of cable with wire ties. There's one there and one there, so each one of those is 10 watts. I forget how many lumens they are. I think they're 900 lumens, something like that. But anyway, those are the lights I use up here as well for this big 40-gallon tank. And it gets plenty of light. And then my other 40-gallon breeder tank, not breeder tank, but I don't breed in here. But look at these 2. Look at these. These are 2 more gouramis. I saw them at the pet store, and look at they come right up to the glass. I think they're going to be fed. They are beautiful fish, and there's a black and yellow molly, and I don't know what this one is, but another beautiful. I like beautiful fish, and that's why I grab them and bring them here. And then I've got a couple of these gouramis, if it'll focus on it, because this fish has got some beautiful color on it. These fish are very, very quiet though. They like to hide. They keep themselves to themselves. I'll often find them. There's a dead-on view. I'll often find them hiding down here. There's a mystery snail. Now I'm obsessed. Where's the other one like this? Gotta be in here. So, oh, here she is. She likes to hide. Right there, she came right up to the glass. Hello, girl. I assume it's a girl. I don't know. But yeah, this camera's not focusing very well. Probably too much to focus on. But they think they're gonna. I think they're gonna get some food. And you know what? What the hell? Right? What the hell? Let's give them a little something for their trouble. Get some food here. Give them a little treat. Just give them a little sprinkle of food. There you go. Now they can have something to eat while we look at them. And they're very peaceful fish. They live a long life. These fish will probably live to be 2 or 3 years old. These bigger fish, and they have personalities. They're just like they get to be just like dogs. At some point, they come up to the glass every day. They know they're going to be fed, and they'll even let you put some of the fish will let you put your hand in and pet them. I can pet my goldfish, and I can pet these two right here. They both let me pet them. And they're not afraid when I stick my hand in the water anymore. Again, another planted tank. Look at that. Look at that mystery snail. That is a huge snail. And as you can see, the plants are proliferating. They're not grown as well as I'd hoped they would. I don't know whether it's down to my light. I don't think so. I think it's the problem is that I didn't charge this base up with enough nutrients. And I'm just depending on them to be the plants to be fertilized through the fertilization I do through the water column. So I don't know. We'll have to experiment with that. All these tanks are an experiment. That was the reason I set them all up, was to see what different substrates would do, different planting methods, and different fertilization regimens. There you go. And again, all of my tanks have some greenery growing out of them. This one's doing better than the other, and this is the Tidal 55. The other one was a 35. This is a 55. It's a little bit bigger, and I haven't changed the filter out of that in a couple of months, and I just keep it clean once a week. I do a regular cleaning. I don't clean the filter. I just clean the inlet and wipe it down. And here's my good old on this other 40-gallon, my good old marine land that just refuses to die. And don't let people scare you. These pumps, if they shut off, the electricity goes off. As long as your water level in your tank is up high, normal, they will prime themselves automatically when the power comes back on. At least mine do. I want to get one more parting shot of this little tank down here, and I've introduced some new fish into this tank. This is the 20-gallon long tank that's on the well, for lack of a better word, the chlorine bleach shelf, and I have the leaky 10-gallon up here, just so you get a reference as to what tank is what. And you notice I've added some new livestock to this tank, namely these mollies. And these mollies were just babies a few months ago. They're growing out, so I put them in here with these guppies because this tank was just kind of lackluster. The guppies were just kind of there doing guppy things, and there's lots of little babies in here. If you can see some of them. Some of the tiny ones are to the back. But these mollies brought out the best in these guppies, and they just now are in the front of this tank at all times. And this tank is still cycling a little bit. It's got some cycled material in the bottom, but it still went through a cycle. But they're doing remarkably well, so I just wanted to share with you. Sometimes it helps to encourage other fish by putting different species in the same tank with them, and they encourage other activity, schooling activity, or just, basically hanging out looking for food, because mollies are always hungry. It's just been my experience. Mollies are always hungry. They're always looking for a meal. So there you go. there's some new additions to the 20-gallon planted tank.